people are at their happiest in their life when they're right around my age. And I'm going to be, don't tell anyone, but 70 in a couple months here. So, and I'm living proof of that. I just love having the freedom to not really care that much about what people think of me. It's part of the We Do Not Care Club. I'm going to fail. Nobody's ever going to give you a big pat on the back if you don't try. Who goes through life without, some, especially at our age, who goes through life without having some failures? And those are the poignant lessons. I would say to anybody who's in my position is assess your skills and find something that you really enjoy, even if you're not good at it yet or you haven't done it much, and then decide if those skills are applicable to that. And if they are, then go for it, because there's nothing to lose. When I wake up in the morning, one essential part of my ability to be joyful during the day is knowing that all of my important relationships are in good order. I love that I have grandkids. It's been this huge gift that I never anticipated would pay off as richly as it does. I got to tell you, the broads I play golf with, some of them I've been playing with for 35 years. Those friendships are rich and strong and so rewarding. And we're trash talking the whole time, all day long, and laughing our butts off. It reaffirms my belief that at this age, 69, almost 70, we still have value, not just to our dogs and our children and whatnot, but we still have value to the community. Now when I see somebody follow me and they've got hair my color, I'm an instant follow back, because because we are, as a group, our numbers are growing, and I hope I'm part of this. There's so much talent out there in our generation. They just need to step up.
Welcome. We're Amanda and Gabriela, mother and daughter and founders of Movement Living. We're on a mission to help women live well and age better.
This is the Movement Living podcast. We interview fascinating people who will inspire you to be confident in your skin as you age and share practical tools to make it happen.
Join the thousands of women who receive our free wellness newsletter at movementliving.com. We curate the best of wellness, bringing you fresh ideas and practical tips every Monday morning. Today, we're chatting with Shannon Nelson, or Pinky Nell, the funny, fearless, self-described boomer grandma with edge. She's built a community of women who are embracing life with humor and heart.
I loved her energy. Shannon reminds us that aging well isn't about perfection. It's about laughter, friendship, and showing up as yourself.
She's created a fun and positive space for women to feel seen and share a laugh. Shannon, welcome to Movement Living. It is so wonderful to have you here today.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Before we dive too far in, I wanted to ask you, what do you love about your age right now?
Oh my gosh, a lot. So I read an article a couple of days ago about how people are at their happiest in their life when they're right around my age. And I'm going to be, don't tell anyone, but 70 in a couple months here. So, and I'm living proof of that. I I love how I have free time to pursue the things that, really give me joy, which is golf and my dogs and making videos on social media. Having time is a huge gift. I love that I'm still reasonably comfortable being active, that I can play golf and tennis and pickleball, and I can walk the dog and I can horse around with my grandkids. I love that I have grandkids. It's been this huge gift that I never anticipated would pay off as richly as it does. And, I just love having the freedom to not really care that much about what people think of me. So, I used to care. It used to be important to me. And now I think to myself, gosh, I might only have 15 years left. What do I care? So it's a good time of life for me. Really good. Great.
That's a huge theme. You know, not to-do list. We'll get to that in a minute, but I'm going to be, well, I just turned 72 actually. And one of the things I do not care if you know how old I am now. I'm going to say my age out loud. That's a whole nother trend, right? Say your age out loud because you're sort of going, well, so, and I appreciate what you're saying about that quite a bit. The freedom, the joy, the grandkids, I totally can relate. It's wonderful.
So speaking of the age thing, I used to do radio when I was in my 40s.
Yes.
And I remember and I hosted a show and it was just me and it was a call-in show. And it took, let me tell you, some intestinal fortitude to do 3 hours on the air with no guests, just trying to invite callers. So I talked as I do now in my videos very openly about everything in my life and particularly my age. And I was having a 48th birthday. And of course, I mentioned this on air. And my executive producer called me in after I was off the air and he said, "Don't you ever tell them your age." I said, "Well, what's wrong with 48?" And he said, "We skew much younger than that. Never mention your age." And I thought, holy cow, it's already started.
So this is part of our mission is like,
Yes.
why are we like that as a culture? I mean, I'm 35 and my friends are like, this is the end. This is the end. And I'm just like, what? You need to come into my world because I'm talking to women of all ages that are having the best time of their lives. So this is not the end.
And we're not faking it. Like,
No.
so I play a lot of golf, like almost every day. And I play with a group of women who are really into the game. It's a great vehicle for friendship and connection, et cetera. We can talk about that later. But almost every day when we stand on the first tee, we look around, we look at each other, and we acknowledge how incredibly lucky we are to be where we are in our lives and how blessed our lives are. And like, I don't know how older people got such, or getting older has gotten such a bad rap when there's this glut of us happy oldsters cruising around town, obviously enjoying ourselves.
Good point. I mean, when I was Amanda's age, we'd look at, well, my mother-in-law, her grandparents, they were having so much fun. And we're like, what is your problem? They had just retired, they were playing golf, having parties all the time, little neighborhood things. So but took a long time to understand that. And it's a wonderful part of being this age, and it makes up for a lot of the, pain and whatever little, physical problems and other issues. But for me, it does. But as Amanda said, meeting people like you and other women who are having a very good, 50 plus, 60 plus, it's very inspiring to me too. So we're
Yeah.
doing this for ourselves.
Yeah, well, I think we're lucky, and obviously you enjoy good health, and so do I, and I know that's not going to last forever because I'm at a point now. I mean, I lost a very good friend this summer, and she was a year younger than me, and so I'm acutely aware that, and maybe that's part of why I appreciate where I'm at. I'm aware that it's not going to last forever.
That's right. And when you say good health, I mean, to me, we all have health issues. We don't want to dwell on them. We want to support ourselves in our good health, which is a lot of, again, what our mission is at Movement Living. But to be looking at the sunny side of things as much as possible. And this is where your humor comes in. I love comedy so much. And I think what you're doing with your humor is so helpful. I mean, as far as connection goes, letting us see and okay, I'm going to ask you, how do you have the courage to put yourself out there and be self-deprecating? Because by the way, I saw that video about the carpets and drapes. Brilliant.
I thought that was brilliant. And it's funny because we're always talking about how brands are just totally missing the best demographic ever to market to. So I loved it. I was like, you should reach out to them.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you know what? They're not totally missing it, and we can talk about that too. But
Yeah, let's.
so I at the beginning, I felt very nervous about doing it, but I had been encouraged by my oldest son. I helped him do an ad. It was just sort of a quick, I wear these shoes. I think they're great, blah, blah, blah. And it got a lot of traction. He said, Mom, you should do this. You've got sort of, you know how to tell a story and you're not nervous on camera. And, why don't you give it a try? And so I started posting with limited success. Nobody was watching my stuff, which is fine. But then, I gained a little confidence and I learned a little more about how to tighten up, editing and that kind of thing. And so then, followers started to sort of trickle in, and then they started to pile in. And I really had to stop and think, do I really want all of this attention at this time in my life? And then I decided, yes, I do. And so, but
That's
I
scary.
every now and then I kind of do a reset and I think, good Lord, like that's a lot of eyeballs, and I'm supposed to be winding down now. But anyway, I'm okay with it. And I'll tell you why I'm okay with it. Like, for example, the reel you just referenced that I did yesterday, I had so much fun doing that reel. I laughed my rear end off while I was making it, and it only took me about 20 minutes, and it was so much fun. So where's the harm in that?
I love that because you have mixed feelings, and I understand that too because I'm in the same situation. I've always been fairly behind the scenes, always. And even putting myself out this much is strange and scary and all of that. But part of me goes, yeah, well, you have a message, you have a mission. So, and of course, Amanda's great. She's wonderful to work with, and that helps. Being with the young team, with the mixed age team helps a lot. But that's a great story about your son and him encouraging you. That's wonderful.
Well, he still does. In fact, so I've got three kids. I have two boys and a girl, and the girl's in the middle, and they're all, launched, and they've got little kids and they're successful at what they do. And the boys, you would think, would be mortified by everything I post, but they're actually, they're very supportive. My daughter, on the other hand, I think she cringes a lot. In fact, sometimes she does it when she's right in front of me. But whatever. She's very patient with me, but I'm not saying that she loves everything I do.
I understood.
Yeah.
We always embarrass our children somehow.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like that's my goal, but I've been doing it her whole life, so you'd think she'd be used to it. But in any event, I sometimes try to think, how would I feel? Like one time my mom, who was an odd little duck, but I loved her to death and I still miss her, had to deliver kind of a eulogy at a friend's funeral. And she got up to do it, and I thought I was going to die right there. I was so mortified. Everything she said, I'm just like, oh my God, so I kind of can relate, even though my mom wasn't out there like I am, but I can kind of relate to how my daughter feels. She's like, oh God, not again. So
Yeah, I had a similar thing with my mom, who was very effusive and just loving and incredible woman, same thing, but she would just want to hug you. And I'd say, Mom, you have 15 seconds to show a lot of emotion right now. You got 15 seconds to hug me and be really effusive and then stop, please.
yeah. Well,
So,
and I think the other thing is, so my daughter, I think, is 40 and she's super busy. She's got, a big job. She's got two little kids who are really into sports, and she's really into sports. And like, she doesn't have a minute to sit around and be silly like I do. I mean, I can get her to do it sometimes. So, she's on the run all the time. And I think the frivolity of what I do is just something she doesn't have time for right now. However, I will say that, she is my best pal and we get along great. So,
that's beautiful. And speaking of sports, and I'm going to jump around because that's what I do, but you can turn the conversation any direction. But speaking of sports, you love golf, you play a lot of golf. I play some golf. I would probably never want to play with you because you'd be so much better than me. But tell us a little more about how it is so healthy for you to play golf.
I don't know if you've heard of the book Joy Span. It was written by, have you heard of it?
Of course, we
We
interviewed.
had Dr. Carrie on the
Oh,
podcast.
right on. So,
She's
I
wonderful.
mean, she writes about the pillars of creating joy in your life. And golf is the perfect vehicle for that because it requires, I'm trying to remember what all her pillars were, but the first thing was connection, I think. So I got to tell you, the broads I play golf with, some of them I've been playing with for 35 years, those friendships are rich and strong and so rewarding. And we're trash talking the whole time, all day long, and laughing our butts off. And if there's something going sideways, crying with each other. So that connection thing is huge in my golf world, both, at both places I play. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. I think one of them was adaptability. Well, I mean, if you hit as many crap shots as I do on the golf course, I am constantly adapting, and it's mental, believe it or not. But at this point in my life, and I'm taking you off golf now and into social media, I have learned so much in the last couple of years by creating videos, posting them, dealing with technology. In the last few months, I've started to not develop, but it's just sort of fallen in my lap, a business side of that, which has been really fun and a huge learning curve there too, because I do it all on my own. So, I mean, I figure I've got those four pillars, and maybe that's why I'm in such good spirits all the time, pretty much, sorted. And I really like what she said, about it's not, the focus should not be on longevity, rather it should be on the quality of life that you've got left. So I relate to that in a huge way.
Fantastic. I mean, um, the growing part, I agree that sometimes you ask yourself, oh God, I have so much on my plate. I'm doing so much and I don't know if I can handle it. But then you know that your brain is alive, that you're still kicking, and everything you're doing has a purpose. And so therefore you want to live well,
Yeah,
age better. You just want
yeah.
to. Yeah.
Well, and something to look forward to and something to be excited about. I mean, occasionally I'll create a reel that I'm really excited to get out there. Like I was dying to get that reel I posted yesterday about the faux fur thongs out there because I had so much fun doing it. So none of it doesn't feel like a job to me. And in a way, my goal is just sort of to, I never want to be negative in what I post. I don't need to bring anybody down. I don't need anybody to hear my ridiculous opinions about politics because I don't really have any. But I just like somebody to either just, go, yeah, I get that. Or, put a smile on their face or whatever. Just some tiny snippet of levity in the day. That's my whole thing. And in a way, if I can do that, that feels pretty good to me.
What that is so wonderful. That's a real contribution, what can I say? Just taking that moment to have a smile, a laugh, and go, oh my God, plus it's satire. And that's what you do so well. I mean, you're satirizing the culture, but you're still part of it. So in a fun way. I really appreciate that as a follower of you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm curious, we've talked about golf, or even you were mentioning wrangling the grandkids or being really active with the grandkids. Are there things that you do outside of golf that keep you active or that keep you healthy?
Like I have a dog, and she may in fact wander in here. And she is a huge part of my wellness. First of all, she's a companion, and I'm a single person. And so that's really important. You have no idea the conversations we have. And the second thing is that she gets me out every morning first thing. And that is a critical part of my day. That before 8 o'clock in the morning, I've been out, I've walked the dog for an hour, I've had fresh air, communed a little bit with nature, I've had some exercise, and I've probably listened to an audiobook. So that is something that's really important to me. I try, and I did it today, but I'm just going to confess I'm not that good at it. But my kids nag me about, you need to do weights. You need to do weights. I walk the golf course as well. I walk my dog, so I walk a ton, but I know I need to do weights and I'm not very good at it. It's kind of like a once, maybe twice a week thing, and it's not a very arduous workout. And I'm working on that. And I stretch every night because, I'm starting to get creaky. I'm sure you are too.
I had a t-shirt that says everything hurts all the time. I mean, you're just constantly dealing with that, and it's part of it. And I'm accepting that. And on the subject of weights, I have exactly done that, is upped my weight training because I know I need to stay stronger, especially well, I never want to not be able to walk if I can possibly help it. So,
Right.
but in doing that, I am getting a bit more pain after, you're just challenging your muscles and you really need to. I agree. I'm glad you're even aware of it, but you have to have some restorative practices. And we're going to be dealing with that even in our newsletter soon. But the point is, it's fantastic what you're doing. You're walking a golf course, that's impressive. And the dog.
And I'm going to tell you this, people don't know this, but I absolutely believe this. I think golf is good for your core. I really do. That, that movement is, I
Yeah,
believe I mean, it's hard to see my core because I've got some fluff on top of it, but I really believe it's good for my core. So,
of course it is. Of course it is.
yes, I believe. Okay, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Have you got sucked into the weighted vest?
No, it's because of a few reasons, and then I've sort of read a few things that, if at our age, maybe it just shrinks you down a bit too much, put too much weight on your vertebrae. I don't know. I just haven't. Um,
Hmm.
I do work on, I have a horse that is, always in rehab, just like I am, and so I walk and trot with him, and that kind of helps with other things. So I haven't
Well,
gotten
and you're doing like farmer carries and stuff
into
down at the gym, which I feel like is,
That's true.
similar kind of. I
That's true.
don't know much about the weighted vest. I don't want to weigh in as an expert here,
I
but
know. And you know what, though? I think anything you do like that to challenge yourself, you challenge your core, it can't be bad,
No. Well,
What
I
do you
got
think?
sucked
I know
in.
you've done one, so tell us about what you think.
Yeah. Well, my daughter had one. She ordered one and she's very fit. I mean, she's the kind of person who gets up at 5 in the morning and works out. It's insane. Anyway, so
That's
she
great.
ordered one and I tried it one day and I thought, well, I could do this. And so, well, then the company sent me one. So that was kind of cool. And I've been wearing it. I have done a little noodling around online to find out if it's going to help. Like I was diagnosed last year with a borderline osteoporosis. So I'm concerned about that. I thought maybe having the extra weight when I walked would help. What I read is that maybe 1% improvement annually. So it's not a big deal. I will tell you what it does do. It takes a walk and it ups the caloric burn, I believe, because it's more effort. Now I could just eat my face off and gain 10 pounds, and that'd probably be way more fun. But so I am continuing to wear it.
Okay.
I'm not convinced it's great, but I have one and we'll see. We'll see where I land and I'll give it, maybe 3 months and see how it goes.
Well, you certainly have the opportunity to wear it a lot, so you're perfect, perfectly able to judge. And I don't want to be negative or positive. I just think that anything that you do to help your fitness is positive.
Yeah. I
If it,
also ride my bike. But
oh,
it's not the kind of bike ride where I'm, working my rear end
right,
off or anything.
right.
It's just sort of it's enough exercise, but it's not, you know.
Oh, so listen, you do a lot. You really are. You're very active.
I'm
And
pretty fit for my age.
you are. And golf is such a great when you don't want to be hurting your knee with tennis or whatever. Of course, you
Yeah.
say you still play tennis? Or
Well, not so much anymore, tennis and pickleball. I have a little bit of trouble with lateral lunging for my hips.
oh boy.
And yeah, so I really have to be careful. So having said that, if anybody asks me to play and I feel, competitive about it, like this last summer, we were up at Whistler and I was with the family and my 10-year-old grandson had his hockey goalie was there. And they were picking who was going to be their pickleball partner. And my grandson, to my great horror, picked his father over me. And so his Zach, the goalie on his hockey team, picked me. Well, of course.
You you were in it.
We kicked their butts. It was so great. And then
Okay.
my hips killed me for about 6 months after that. So it's like,
You know that you just brought up something, if you've been in competitive sports, and I have when I was younger, and have that competitive mentality, this is why I don't play things like that because I know I will go for too much so I can win, and then I'll hurt myself, which is very sad.
yes.
Good that you learned it.
Yeah, it's good to know your limitations. Just a sort of side story. My ex-husband, who's the father of my kids, was just in a running race with his grandkids, and he exploded off the start line and popped his Achilles tendon. So and
Oh.
he was a great athlete. Well, now he's stuck. He can't do anything for 6 months. So I'm aware of my limitations, and I must say I am certainly more careful than I used to be.
That's a great theme, actually. We don't really talk much about that. because it sounds negative, being aware of limitations. But it is important at this age because, and that's another thing I'm learning is if you push too hard on anything, strength, cardio, whatever,
Right.
if you get injured, you're so screwed,
Oh, I know.
Mm.
I know it. I would be a terrible patient. I don't want anything like that happening. I remember when I first took up golf and I was so keen and I also did my first day of snowboarding with my kids. I think I was in my late 40s and I
Wow.
fell and cracked my tailbone. This is on the first day. Cracked my tailbone and hurt my wrist. And opening day for golf was the following week. And I thought, what if I couldn't play golf? Well, that was it. I never snowboarded again. What if
Amen. Yeah.
who needs the injury?
Who needs the injury? That's a
Yeah.
great theme. We should, who needs, because it
I
takes
I
longer to
have
heal.
that mentality also. I'm very cautious with what I do because I really don't want to get injured.
Well, listen, you're smart because so all three of my kids, who are all very physically active, have all started realizing that even at your age, well, they're sort of more 40-ish. They're all three of them sort of within a year of 40. And they are, they play soccer and they don't know how to do anything easy either. Well, they've all had a meniscus tear in their leg now. And, my daughter who was playing hockey, I mean, she can only do so much. So it starts even at your age. It's
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
the joints just, aren't what they were. You got to be careful.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's actually very interesting because I think it's a big shift and it does happen, I think, in your early 30s, I would say is when it happens, but a lot of people ignore it. It's a big shift from kind of doing activities or sports either for performance or competition or enjoyment, um, to, for me anyways, staying active really with the goal of what am I going to be like in my 90s and wanting to, maintain that rather than like, how am I going to perform best right now? And I
Yeah, that's a hard thing to wrap your head around, but you need to take up golf if you want to be sporty into your 90s, Amanda.
Yeah,
Golf.
it's true. It's true. Look, I'm someone who never thought of golf as a sport until I was
Of
50.
course not.
You know what I mean? I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not a sport. Forget
Yeah.
it. But I made myself learn it because I said, you know what? You're probably going to be grateful that you did learn because it's not
Mhm.
an easy sport. And I would made the good decision to hire a teacher right out of the gate so I can hit straight, which I didn't do in tennis. But anyway, Amanda, what she doesn't say is she was a competitive athlete in tennis and skating when she was young, really young, and you were in, national junior tennis leagues. And the thing is,
Wow.
I think you learned early on what you want to do in terms of competitive sports or physical fitness. And she's been in yoga for quite a long time. So this is where I think you come from, speaking from experience, Amanda, and you stay in pretty good shape. So I have to say that because she's my daughter.
I'm more focused on, you know, the the sustainability of my physicality rather than
You're a wise girl.
Well, the other thing, when she was even in elite sports in the early 2000s, there wasn't even enough there for you on the recovery side. I mean, you had everything, like 10 coaches, but it wasn't maybe enough training to take care of your body. Is that correct? I mean, that's what
yeah,
you.
I think it's similar for a lot of sports and especially in adult sports. I'm curious, Shannon, if your kids do they stretch after they play their soccer matches and
Okay, let me tell you about my kids in sports, and I'll tell you about my daughter's kids. And she's got two, a boy and a girl. They're 11 and 9 now, and they're very athletic. And they play hockey and soccer and tennis and you name it. They're playing it at a very competitive level, for that age. Well, it's not like when my kids were little, certainly not when I was little. They didn't even have sports for kids when I was young in Prince Rupert. They had a pool, that was it. They have workout sessions, they have all kinds of stuff around the sport that isn't just about, playing the game, but it's all about, the whole I guess it's the holistic approach. And they probably didn't have that, when you were playing either. Well, maybe they did, but it's a very different place now. My daughter is very deliberate about recovery. I mean, when she had kids, I couldn't believe the pelvic floor exercises she did after she had, like, it was a thing every day. She was so dedicated. I was like, I don't think I did one. I do a couple now. When I come to a stoplight, I try and do a Kegel or two, but I have to remember to do it, and it's only one or two, and it doesn't really matter anymore anyway. So,
No,
but
it's good point. She did have a sports psychologist, didn't you? I mean, you did have some of that around you, but not to that extent. And I'm glad to
yeah,
hear it. I'm glad to hear it. That's all.
yeah. I
But
think, it's like many things. They're just way smarter than we were. I mean, that's probably not the right word, but you know what I mean, right?
I loved one of the reels you made about missing your calling. You had a joke about missing your calling, and I think a lot of women in our community are in their 60s, 70s, and I think that idea or that fear about, oh, it's too late to start something new, or it's too late to revisit a passion that I had, or it's sort of too late for this or that, that can start to dominate their thinking. And I'd love to hear your advice on that.
Well, that's sort of the courage thing once again, right? It's that you have to be, s- how can I say this? I have always been kind of out there. And when you're somebody like me, there's a lot of public failure. I mean, every time I stand up on the tee to hit a shot, there's a potential for me to humiliate myself, and it happens regularly. But in life in general, I have had some, really public embarrassments. So the failure thing is not something that I am afraid of anymore, because I rarely learned anything when I was doing well, but I sure learned some important lessons when I screwed it up. So I would say that fear of failure and public failure is probably the single greatest thing that holds us back at any age. And so, because I don't really have that fear, I was able to just kind of throw myself out there. And if people don't like it, well, I won't say, but they can go do whatever they need to do somewhere else. None of my business. So, I was lucky in that I had kind of a combination of skills that I'd acquired over a long life that all lent themselves to this one thing. And and I really enjoyed all of those things that contributed. Like, I enjoy writing. Sometimes I'll sort of write up a draft. I enjoy telling a story. Um, I enjoy kind of hamming it up a bit. I enjoy learning about technology, even though I'm still like a complete. Ugh. I really like it. And when I figure something out, man, it's like hallelujah. So so I would say to anybody who's in my position is assess your skills and find something that you really enjoy, even if you're not good at it yet, or you haven't done it much, and then decide if those skills are applicable to that. And if they are, then go for it, because there's nothing to lose. I mean, nobody's going to give a flying you know what if you screw up. Nobody. It's like, who cares? Like, I seriously have no issue with that anymore. I mean, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I don't want to screw up in that regard. But in terms of my public persona, I mean, sometimes the reels I make that I think are so brilliant are the biggest bombs. But it's okay. It doesn't matter, because I had fun making it, and I liked it. So I think if something is really your calling, chances are you love it. And chances are you probably have developed some skills around that you can use now, now that we have the time to develop a little more, and just try it. Go for it. See what it feels like. There's no downside. There's no downside. And to be learning at this point, like my kids now, I mean, when I first started out, they were like rolling their eyes and whatnot. Now they're going like, wow, you did it. You're doing it. Because I am.
that's great advice, and does it, I mean, this is a leading question, but does it make you feel youthful in the sense of just as strong and as with it as
Yes.
ever?
Yes. I feel like I feel when I can connect with people through a reel, that is a really good feeling. Now, of course, there's that stupid ego thing that I'm as vulnerable to as anybody else, maybe even more so. But I love when I get lots of likes and comments and views on a reel. That's all, pretty intoxicating stuff. And I don't drink anymore, so that's my new addiction, that and peanut butter. So I like all of that stuff too, but it's really less important than that overall knowledge that I am making a connection with people, and it's mostly a positive thing. I did post a few reels at the beginning where I made some sort of snotty opinion piece that I really didn't like the feedback on. So I decided that I don't want to be that person. I don't want to invite negativity. I don't want to incite anger. I mean, I don't mind, a little bit of outrage, but I don't want to make anybody mad or depressed or anything. I just want it to be a positive thing. And at the very worst, a neutral thing. So, yeah, I like the best part of it is that sort of general sense of making a connection, even though I don't see the people that I'm connecting with. And sometimes people come up to me and they'll say, I know. Are you Shan? Do you post on Instagram?" And I always say, "Can I touch you?" Because like I don't ever get to see a real person. Sort of, like, it's fun for me because it's actually they're real. It's not just this vacuum. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. I do.
That says a lot. What you just said says a lot about where the times we're living in, where real life is just becoming so rare and so valuable. And that's a great, back and forth. It's not just us looking at you, but you're wanting to meet with
Yes.
people who follow you and who appreciate you. And that's nice to
I mean,
hear.
I'm always so grateful when they come out. I really am because they're real people, and if they like it or they tolerate it or whatever, that's a win for me.
I really like what you said about the fear of failure is the biggest barrier for
For
people
sure.
to do anything. And I think that's so true. And I mean, it's very inspiring to hear you say that you've sort of overcome it.
Well, yeah, I think so. Although, I mean, I still get nervous sometimes, but I would never do anything, or I would never not do anything because I was afraid to fail. I mean, that's one of the great lessons. And, Gabriella, you've probably learned this too. It's like, it's part of the We Do Not Care Club. I'm going to fail. Nobody's ever going to give you a big pat on the back if you don't try.
Yeah.
And I think there's real honor, even glory in getting out there and taking a crack at it. Now, it's always better if you take an informed crack at it, like if you've done a little work to so that your crack might achieve some success. But I think that's an honorable thing to get out there and even if you fail, man, good for you. I mean, are you ever going to pat the person on the back who didn't even try? No.
No,
And
good
who
point.
are the, who goes through life without, some, especially at our age, who goes through life without having some failures? And those are the poignant lessons all the way through. And it's still happening to me. I still have failures.
I mean, that's very inspirational what you're saying because really, as a woman, I mean, you can have self-confidence in what your abilities are, like sports or reading or anything that you're good at, but that doesn't mean you have self-esteem. And as a woman, it's always such a struggle to um, to be able to have that courage to fail or to make mistakes or to put your foot in it, which I've done plenty of times too. But Amanda said to me the other day, and I have to really work with this. We were in line, and I said, "Oh, there's someone behind. We got to hurry, whatever." And she says, "Like, why are you so afraid to take up any space at all, Mom? Like
Wow.
take up some space." And I'm like, "Oh." It's true. I'm just so conscious of
You
everything.
are so apologetic, Mom, for like,
Living.
yes, it's so interesting to me because I think it's like it really weighs you down.
I know people like that too. It's very well, there's all different kinds, right? But
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
very female way to be
I
in my
know
generation, in our generation.
our generation, and that's the thing. I mean, I was the foundation of our family because I have two brothers and blah blah blah, you're the caregiver, the caretaker, making everything right. And the good thing about getting to this age is, hey, I don't have to do that anymore, even though I still do a lot.
She calls herself the sheepdog because she's
Well,
always like
well,
herding.
I always was the one that wanted to know where everyone was all the time. I have to know where everything is. And so it's more like a shepherd dog. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's just that's part of my personality too. But no, there's more to it. I really find that's why you're so inspirational. Like you're like, okay, so I screwed up, big deal, right? And I love that. And the humor reflects it. So, again,
Well,
this
and I think for women to start to grapple with, yeah, what would I do if I wasn't afraid to just go for it?
yeah,
What
it's
could I do?
fun.
What would I want to do? What, if I wasn't held back by a fear? And I think the world would be a more interesting place if more women
Oh,
just
for
went for it,
sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I wish, I know it's easy to say it. I wish people felt it and believed it,
Sure.
because you're right. Think how much more interesting the world would be.
Mm.
But there again, that's one of the advantages of getting older. It's
Yeah,
so liberating. And
it
that's
is.
if you're someone like me, I'm going, okay, then,
I
here I
know.
come.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, one of your posts is about the $130 bra, which I loved because of the satire and also because you said, well, I had to buy. What I love is the punchline, which is, I went out and bought, four more so that I could amortize my investment, which is such a great business observation.
I
That
averaged
was to
down.
me, that was great. That was just great.
Yeah, it was, here's another thing, that I come from a very frugal mother. She
Mm,
was, I mean, it defies description, her level of frugality. And even though I can afford my life, there are some ways in which I am very frugal too. I cannot shake that. And that's how I shop. My kids sometimes give me grief about it. I just can't get past it. And I don't know what that little magical dopamine hit is when you think you've got a deal, right? But
yeah.
I do enjoy that, I must say.
That was good and very good insight into you. I wasn't quite brought up that way. It was more like my dad would say, you know what? Don't spend less, earn more, And of course he worked his butt off all the time. So I don't know how good of an example that was, but that was more of an attitude of, whatever. But that's funny how things come from our childhood.
Oh, no question. Isn't it interesting though now as we look back, and I think about how I as a human being was formed by my environment with my mom and dad. And I was so lucky. My mom and dad were a wonderful love story. And my dad was very much he was a very charismatic, out there, fun guy. He was the guy you wanted to sidle up to at the party, and my mom was a homemaker, and she was kind of a quirky, different broad, but she was home every day when I got home from school. And she had so much potential, but in her generation, not many ways to explore that. I often think, of the things that she could have done. She could have done anything because she was super bright, but she decided to stay home and take care of us. I feel so lucky that I had my parents, that they set that wonderful example. And I often think about my kids and all the ways that I screwed up. Do you do that
Absolutely. Yeah.
daily?
No, thank goodness, because I'm working with her. So that gives
But
me
also, she only had one. So maybe if she had
Okay.
more, she would think about it more.
I
Yeah.
knew my limitations. Let me put it
Yeah,
that
I
way.
didn't. I don't know what happened to me, but in any event, I think about, there were some things that happened in my life that I wasn't necessarily in control of. The most specific I'm thinking about is divorce. And that was out of my hands, and that was devastating for my family. And I'm not sure I handled it all that well. I developed this narrative for a while that I was this heroic mom who, stayed at home and soldiered through that very difficult time, thinking only of my children. I'm not sure the kids would see it that way. Um, it was just a really hard time in my life, and I regret so profoundly that that happened to my family. I still do. I am on excellent terms with my kid's father. He's a good guy, stuff happens, but I often think about the impact of that on my kids and feel so fortunate that I didn't have to endure that in my childhood.
That is so good, and it's good that you are on good terms because really you're thinking about your kids and the relationships. That makes a lot of sense. It's great that you're
Yeah, I
really
never, there were a lot of people splitting up when we went through this as well. And there was a lot of sort of vindictive wife stuff and take him to court and all the rest of that. I knew the minute we split up that the only way for me to move forward was to forgive and move on. I knew that. And it took me a long time, but that was my intention right from the get-go. I don't know that I handled it gracefully. I probably didn't, but well, I know I didn't, but that was my intention. And ultimately that benefited everybody. And I still like my ex-husband. He was a good guy. I see him in my kids. I like his partner. She's awesome. In fact, she laid a new floor in my place in North Vancouver, laid the floor herself. Amazing. Anyway, so
impressive.
yeah, but I do think, I haven't been a model citizen my whole life. I'm
Well,
aware of that and I really try to own it. Not necessarily publicly all the time, but with the people that were impacted by that, I try and own that. I have not always been a model citizen. I'm probably not one now.
well, look, I mean, on the subject of regret, you were speaking about that. How do you deal with it, the inevitable regrets that we get at our age?
I just try and push them out of my mind, and I'm pretty good at it because I have a wonderful relationship with all three of my kids and happily with their spouses, which is really cool. I mean, they might say terrible things about me, but I'm sure they don't mean them. I'm kidding. They know who I am. They know I'm crazy. Everybody in my family knows that, and they accept that, and sometimes enjoy it, sometimes don't. But I'm so lucky that all my important relationships are in good order. And in fact, I want to say that when I wake up in the morning, one essential part of my ability to be joyful during the day is knowing that all of my important relationships are in good order. And sometimes that requires work on my part. Mostly it's pretty easy, but that is key to my sense of well-being. Absolutely.
Interesting. I gotta say, same here. I mean, I'll kind of run through my mind what's going on today or how do I feel? And if one thing is awry, I've got to fix it. I'm going to try to fix it because it does impact everything. So good that you brought that up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I also feel like I've screwed up enough in my life that when I look at a situation and it's gone sideways, it's probably me. And even if it's not me, I'm the only part of the equation that I can control. So I'm pretty good now at acknowledging, when I've screwed up. I'm pretty good at saying I'm sorry. I often open my big mouth when I shouldn't, and sometimes I hurt people's feelings, and I hate doing that. I hate it. But I'm getting pretty good at being told when I've done it because I often don't notice, and making amends. That's getting easier and easier for me to do, and it just reaps huge rewards.
Wow. So well
That's
put.
that's great. I feel like that's a great topic for us to explore more.
Yeah, it's well, I like I said, I haven't been a model citizen my whole life. It's been quite a ride and continues to be quite a ride. But I honestly, I'm having so much fun right now. And just as an aside, there's been, people asked me a lot in the first year when I was posting and even now, well, do you monetize? And it was never my intention to do that. I just wanted to post for fun. I don't really need the money. I just wanted, but I've had some approaches from brands that have been interesting to me where I didn't have to, quote, prostitute myself to sell anything. And I've found that I really enjoy the challenge of creating a reel with a brand's parameters, but maintaining my voice. I really enjoy that. I really do. And the other thing I really enjoy is closing deals. I love that. It's
That,
crazy.
yeah, no, of course, because it goes with that part of you that wants to get a good deal. I love
And
that.
then
You're
ding, you get
obviously,
that little dopamine hit and you're like, woo, like so that has been, in fact, I was chatting with my oldest son this morning and I said, I'm going to New York in a few weeks to meet with a brand and that's, super exciting. I've been to New York a few times because my son used to live there, but they're going to style, he and his wife own this shoe company and they're going to style me in New York. And that's super fun. And I said, well, he said, we'll have to call you something. And I said, well, how about the accidental influencer? Because it was never my intention
oh, I love that.
to do anything like that. He goes, no, you can't have that, Mom. Somebody else already has it. So, I can't be that. But that has been something that has evolved and I know this is going to sound bad. It reaffirms my belief that at this age, 69, almost 70, we still have value to not just to our dogs and our children and whatnot, but we still have value to the community. And that to me is a boy, that's been fun learning that.
Well, and also to the economy, come on, and we're just hiding in plain sight. We're saying, hey, you brands, get with the
Yeah.
program here.
Well, and here's the thing, like, I mean, we are so largely ignored. And I believe honestly that a huge component of my success, which is still pretty moderate, has been luck. Because I happen to be somebody of this age who's comfortable talking on camera. And, there aren't a lot of women my age that want to put themselves out there like that. Understandable. But what it means is that if I was somebody that was Amanda's age and I wanted to start doing this and I started posting and whatnot, the chances that I would, close any business or gain too many followers would be pretty slim. But because we are, largely underrepresented in social media and basically certainly in marketing campaigns, I've sort of developed this little niche. I mean, who else are you going to go to if you want to get to the old girls, right?
Exactly.
And
Ex-
there are lots of us. I mean, there are, but comparatively speaking, in Amanda's generation, you'd just be invisible.
That's a really good point. We know that so well, and we are speaking to that group because, I mean, I'm in it, you're in it, we're in it, and there's a
Mhm.
groundswell. I don't know if you think so, but I feel a real
Oh
groundswell.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm making friends. Like the whole reason I'm doing this podcast is because, Colleen Landry, you guys talk
Yeah,
to her. So Colleen's been a
fantastic.
friend. I reached out to her on social media. We talk regularly now. There's another gal named Lynn Shabinsky. She's white-haired wisdom. You should talk to her too. She's great.
Yeah,
And these people are
we
mentoring
follow her.
me and we share what's happening with us from a plain old social point of view, but also from a business point of view. And now when I see somebody follow me and they've got hair my color, I'm an instant follow back because because we are, as a group, our numbers are growing and I hope I'm part of this. I know Lynn is and I know Colleen is, although she's 10 years younger than me and she'd tell you that before I would, that we're making it a little more okay for more people to do it. There's so
Oh,
much talent out there in our generation.
I know, I
They
know.
just need to step up.
Oh, there's so many of us. I mean, it's his reinventing old age. It's boomer, the pig and the python, the whole bit. And we're there, and I'm feeling it, and I'm getting so much out of it myself because it's so exciting. And comedy for me is very, very special. I love comedy. I mean, it is a wonderful tool and wonderful medicine. And Colleen is so good. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, she's amazing.
we love talking to her about how
Yeah.
she developed herself. Well, I don't know if you heard it, but she was so wonderful too.
Yeah, she's great, and she's been, she says to me, we had a three-way call with Lynn Shabinsky, who is this incredibly gorgeous gal. She's the gal you want next door, right? Like she's awesome. So and seeing that and watching her evolve, and
Yeah.
that's really fun. That's really fun for me. And likewise, I would feel that way about anybody in our demo
Yeah.
who's doing it. And I mean people over 60, like.
Yeah.
There's a lot of 50-year-olds and you guys are all great, but you still look good. So,
It's not
let's
anything.
see some of the 70-year-olds get up there, right?
It's true. It's very different. I have an older friend who has always informed me about the next decade, and she goes, "Oh, Gab, you know,
Well, you think
70s,
about it,
man,
80 is,
70." Well, but that's what I love is that now I'm looking at women who are 80 and 90 and staying strong, and boy, that is so inspiring. It is not even funny. Yeah.
my maternal grandmother lived to be 108. And she died 2 years ago of COVID. She outlived both her
Oh,
daughters. She was a marvel. She lived on her own until she was 106. So there is longevity in my genes.
good.
I'm not sure I want to get to be that old, but
You
I
might.
think about how many really great active years do we have left? I'm making the most of them. I'm pretty sure you are too.
Yeah, but it takes a bit of work and effort. I mean, you have to be conscious about it, and that's the balance, right?
I'd love to maybe wrap up with the Movement Living Five, which is like our rapid fire 5 questions.
Okay, great.
Okay. So, in a few words, what does wellness mean to you?
It means all my relationships being in good order. It means feeling well enough to get out and be in nature. It means connecting with my friends, either with golf or through golf or walking on the golf course. Um, I can't remember your question. I'm kidding.
I like how earlier when we said wellness, it was kind of like wellness, which I appreciate that because in some ways we feel that way also. It's like wellness,
Yeah,
it's like this whole thing,
yeah,
but you keep it really down to earth. So I love that and the focus on connection and everything.
yeah. Oh, it's so important. Like, honest to gosh, my relationships with my pals is like they are. It's so meaningful to me. So meaningful to me. We have the best time. It's just, it's criminal, really. It's great.
What is a daily habit that you swear by to feel your best?
When I wake up in the morning and I have my first shot of coffee, I sit down and I write longhand in a journal. It's, I would be mortified if anybody read it. It's the most vacuous, self-absorbed garbage you could ever imagine. But I sort myself out in my journal every morning, first thing. And I'm very fussy about pens. It has to be one like this that has the nice flowing ink on the end. That's how I start my day every day without fail.
Love that.
Did they pay you to do that? Just kidding.
No, I don't even know what kind it is. I have to
I'm
look
just
it
teasing. It's
up.
okay.
No, but would they? I should contact them.
Hell yeah.
Is there a health concern that you worry about the most?
I was diagnosed last year with a borderline osteoporosis. I am concerned about that. I take a drug called Fosamax once a week. I am trying to be mindful of things that I can do to improve it. But yeah, I worry about that. My mom had brittle old bones as well. And even though I live a pretty healthy lifestyle and I get lots of protein and I exercise, it may not be something I can do a whole lot about. So I worry about that.
You have a favorite way to treat yourself?
Yes, Tony, my massage therapist. Oh, he's brilliant. I see Tony once a week. I went last night. He and his wife run this massage place that I go to, and I've been seeing him for 10 years. It's not like that. And he is it's the physical TLC that I don't have in my life because I don't have a partner. And it's wonderful. I love that I'm able to do that. Yeah, that's awesome for me.
Okay. What's something that you're learning right now?
I'm learning all about technology. Um, and I really enjoy that for the most part, but man, I can go down a rabbit hole and not get anywhere for a long time before I come out the other side. Um, I'm also learning that this time in my life, as we've talked about, is way better than I ever imagined it would be. And I wish everyone in every generation realized that it's something to look forward to, not something to dread.
Love that. I appreciate that very much.
Where's the best place for people to find you?
I'm on Instagram. It's at Pinkynell, Pinkynel. I'm on Facebook and I'm on TikTok. Three very different communities.
We meant to ask, but why Pinky? Where did
Because, oh, you're going to like this. So when I was a baby, my dad and mom called me Porky because I was. And when I was one and the name was sticking, my mother said, I think it's time we changed her name to Pinky. And so they did. and it stuck. And my dad called me Pinky until the day he died. Well, as I got older, he called me Pink, my grown-up version. So when I had to come up with an email address, I used Pinky Nell. Nell is the first part of my last name, Nelson, and it just stuck.
That was very wise of your mother, probably the best thing she ever did for you.
Yes, she also, she was a fatophobe, as was my father. But my mom, and I'm sure your mom was too. In her generation, man, you didn't have an extra pound. And boy, I heard about that my whole life.
Well, the opposite in the sense that my mom was curvy, and I remember her getting into a girdle, and I was like Twiggy, and she would call me a yard of pump water, but she never made fun of me she never body shamed me, whatever it was, right? But
Yeah.
she was always struggling.
Yeah. Well, my mom, I don't think my mother ate anything fattening her whole life. She was, I mean, every day of my life I heard the word fat. She was either telling my daddy was fat or asking my brothers how fat they were or what,
Oh,
that's just who she was.
that's a big that's a big one. Okay. Anyway, thank you.
That's a good one for part two.
It's
Yeah.
been wonderful to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you
And
so much. I've really enjoyed the conversation. It's nice to
yeah,
have representation of two generations here.
we get a lot from each other, and I think we all have, a lot of us have kids, and so it's really important to bring that into the conversation.
And isn't it interesting how I thought when I had kids I was going to impart so much wisdom to them, and as it's turned out, it's the other way around, right?
Don't get me started on, how you think they're going to be like you.
Yeah, no,
So not. And how do you
no.
accept that? How do you go with it? That's, and then the grandkids come, oh, like it is.
I know with the grandkids. Oh my gosh, the grandkids are my favorite thing about being old.
Glad you said that because I feel the same. That joy is indescribable. But but to me, it's also about just having a young child in your life. If you're fortunate to have that, doesn't have to be your grandkid or a dog or any animal. I mean, there's so many other ways of finding that joy, with that connection. Anyway, we could keep going, but we should let you go. And thank you for all of your forthrightness and fun approach to life. We really appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me on. I've enjoyed the conversation.
It was great having you. Take care.
Okay, you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye bye.